So I want to begin with talking about your art, and I think it's really wonderful. I've seen you in person, and when you're performing, if the person watching you is actually there, they can see your intensity. I mean, you're very intense and you're very sincere with the ideas that you interact with during your performances. And it's almost like you're having a mystical experience while doing those performances. I mean, you're not really there in a sense. So I wanted to ask you how your personal experience, and I know you're a Yoruba person and you're a practitioner of the Yoruba religion. How does that inform your artwork and your practice and what you do?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, let me thank you for organizing the talk, and for us to have a conversation. As a Yoruba person that has a very deep, uh, ancestral uh, body of knowledge that connects to every facet of life in a deeper way. So, and that's, prepare me into having a very deep philosophy that's influenced my idea of subject matter. You know, for example, Yoruba understand, just like Indian, understand the connection of the human body to the nature. So what I'm saying is that I come from an ancestral body that is so deep uh, in the knowledge of existence, of human existence, and also of spiritual existence. And so that has prepared me into, and for having a very deep philosophical understanding of my subject matter, you know, and
Yeah.
and uh, it connects with here and to all everything that matters in the subject that I'm trying to present in my performance, you know. And for example, when I came to Indian, to make performance, and if you have seen some of the clip and some of the documentation of the performance, you will see that it was my ancestral body of knowledge that connect me, that make me understand that there is that strong, you know, um, uh, knowledge that is in the culture of the Indian that has to do with one as being understanding the connection of the inner and the outer space of every person. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you very much.
Yeah.
So the ancestral body is very important in your work. And that
Yeah.
is really a brilliant, profound thing to do because ancestral knowledge is really dying out in today's world. It's really dying out. So what you do in that moment is you revive something which we are losing. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing you do.
Yeah. But I don't think revival is the actually vocabulary to use. I think it is reactivation, because they don't die. It's just that your own DNA, it is passed to us. It is in the body already. So it's in DNA. It's a part of your body. So it is only to reactivate it. So by reactivation, then you bring it into for others to see, and that reactivation begin to extend and spread to the other person.
Yeah, that's right. I remember you described it as expanding your consciousness. So
Yes.
even while you're doing that, you're almost embodying that idea. And I see a lot of people who make artworks about indigenous knowledge and all of that, but you are being that while doing it. So I think it's really very profound. You are embodying those ideas, and you rightly said that reactivating is a good word because we have it within us all the time, our ancestral knowledge.
Yes.
It's accessible.
Yes. It's our, let me use the scientific word and say that our DNA, it's part of the DNA, because right now I'm wearing a brown black body, and because I'm coming from ancestral body that is of this nature. So, and it is also, of course, we look at it ordinarily and said, well, I'm a white, I'm red, I'm this, I'm that, but we don't want to we don't want to bring in the 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 energy that produces that body. So embody, just like I said, embody your ancestral body is just been natural. It's the most natural thing you could do as a human being. You're speaking Indian, and when you speak English, the tone of your ancestral language is coming in to be part of the English. So, and the same thing that I do, you feel the energy of the Yoruba in my English. And so sometimes English person, if I speak, they may not understand very well because I have I have I am picking from the energy of my ancestors, which is part of me.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when I see people watching you perform, I feel like that because um, a lot of Western people see you perform, but I feel like your what you're doing gets lost in translation a lot of times. I saw the video of you bowing in front of everyone and that performance you did. And I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
maybe you need to be open to be able to access the energy that you're providing us in that moment. The audience needs to be open to that energy. Like you said, in terms of language, when you're speaking to someone from the Western world, they might not be able to understand because you're carrying that Yoruba energy. And it's the same with me. So, yeah.
Yeah, you have said it. You have said it. When you are performing and the audience is there, if the audience is closed up, if the audience mind and everything about the audience is closed up, you will not be able to understand and to be there. So the audience have to be present with everything about them and be open. So it is when you open, then the inner part of you begin to open, and those energy which is being transported out, or which is sent out from my for body of the performance, then it begin to penetrate into the psychic of the audience, and there will be and so their own memory body will begin to open. So it is when their own memory body begin to open, and they will be seen. It is like a kind of an exchange of a dialogue. And so when you are open to it, then your own memory will open. Then you'll be able to see that is depository, visual depository in the body of the audience, and which will resonate into the forms which they're seeing, and that the dialogue will begin in the audience. So, and that dialogue will continue when the performance stopped, within the mind of the audience it continues, because that is when the process of it will now actually begin in the mind of the audience, when it will now begin to say, I've seen green. What does the green mean to me as a human being? I have seen black. What does that black mean to me? I have seen certain action. What does that action mean? So it is the mind of the beholder which will be processing that, and in that process, it will be redefining into visual image within the body of the audience. So that psychological process become really deeper, you know, in that time. So it is in that time that the audience itself will begin to, sometimes some of them will get lost, and some of them said, I don't understand what you're doing. Then I tell them that you do not need to understand, but you need to be within yourself. So when you are within yourself and you are present, because most of the time, most of the audience are not present because their body is colonized. The colonialism of them, which is coming from the information, from the social media, from the environment, and sometimes they are not present within their body. So engaging with my work and with other work sometimes needs the presence, absolute presence of the audience.
So when the audience is present, you're actually activating something in their unconscious,
Yeah.
right? And it will stay
Yes.
with
Yes.
them. Even if their surface level self, ego, doesn't know it, but it's going to leave an imprint in the unconscious. of having access these
Yes.
energies. Hmm.
Yes. Yes. Because it is more kind of a spiritual aspect of human, which is the inner. So a lot of like right now you are thinking, I will know. I am thinking something as we talk, you will know. So, but in that process, the which will later on become the memory body of the person, and that is where the ancestral body dwell. So the memory store in that conscious, the subconscious, and there you begin to interpret it and you begin to take it up. So in a time in the life when they need this information in store, it will come up, it will surface. And that was someone will say you don't do it subconsciously. So it come like subconscious material. But within them is there, you know, like let me refer to the first time I came to India. But before I come to Indian, I've already been to Indian several times within my body because when I was growing up, there is what we call Indian film. I know Amta Bashar, I know Dharmendra, I know a lot of people growing from the 70s, watching the Indian film. So my memory body has been going to India several years, several times, dwelling them, even though my physical body could not be there.
Right. Right.
As for these things form image in my body and they become part of me. So and at the end, it's just be human. So if I move there and I say something like it reactivates, I say, wow, I have seen this before. This is what it means to me.
So, in what you're saying, there's a lot of profound implications about Yoruba and indigenous philosophy, which is that we don't look at each other as separate beings. I can actually, in a sense, access whatever is there in your mind right now, all your memory. Actually, Jelili and Kunj is right now just a construct, it's just our physical bodies. But we are connected on some deeper level, which is very different from the Western model, which looks at the self and the external world as separate. But the indigenous knowledge tells us that the self and the external is just one thing, it's just one
Yes,
consciousness. And we can access
yes,
all parts of this consciousness. We can become a tree,
yes.
we can become a bird.
Yeah, that is a special sacred prayer, which we call Iwure in Yoruba, and it says Kori inu ma ba tode je, which means that may your inner head don't destroy the outer head. And it is from that, it is a philosophy for you to understand that the inner you and the outer you are inseparable. So the inner you use the outer body to connect to the outer experience, and the outer body use the inner body to connect to the inner body. And so this spiritual thing, it is just like you said, that the Western models sometimes do not recognize that because they believe in things that you can see physically. So if you don't see things physically, they assume it doesn't exist. But the Yoruba philosophy and also like the Indian know that these two are inseparable. And that's what makes you human. And that's what they will tell you, that when you are sick, it is either you are imbalanced in your inner or imbalance in the outer that it make you to be imbalanced and get kind of a sickness. So, and that's the idea of you being present. So when you are present, it is that you combining the inner self, the outer side, and they are in harmony together. And so when you're in harmony, then you'll be able to tap within and outside and bring it together and make a whole of an existence for yourself. So my performance in most of the time take these two sacred elements together. So every content that you see in my performance bring out those two elements, the inner and the outer. And those two are the elements that I use to negotiate into the mind of my beholder. and for them to begin to activate their thinking process.
Yeah, yeah. You said rightly that uh, from the Western viewpoint, the there's only physical. There's only physical. There's no recognition of the soul. There's no recognition of something beyond the soul, which also the West is realizing now with the most recent inventions and discoveries within quantum physics. I mean, they're saying something that is beyond the body and beyond the physicality. And that really hinders our civilization, don't you think? Really hinders people. It makes them pathological and neurotic and stupid because they believe in this conception of the human being and the things just being physical, reduced to the physical, whereas it is much more than that, as you rightly said.
Yes, of course. And just like we here as young person, well, let's look at the idea of death when you die. And of course, the Western see that the deaths are just physical and you just go. But the Yoruba know, understand that when you die, it is a translation into. And so you go more into your inner and you pick up your inner body and drop in the physical body. So you are now more of more the inner. And though in the inner, it means that there is more life, more in the inner, and which you also take up in your body. So, and the same thing about idea of art. When you pick an idea and you create and work, that work continues to live. And so when an artist, when an audience is engaging with the work, that audience will be engaging with the work with his own consciousness or with our own consciousness, and it will be dialoguing within inner part of herself and in himself, and begin to translate that into an image. In the image of the inner part of the body. So the inner part of the body will now be conjuring out energy that will interpret whatever anything that we put into their mind. So to us, life is a continuous and existence, you know. So it means that at a point, the inner and the outer will dissolve into one body of a kind of a spiritual body. Yeah.
So the framework is really being transformed of the person. They will really interpret the world in a different way and see things anew once the inner body has been activated. There's also the implication in this that we can access the past and we can access the knowledge of our ancestors and it is within us, which is an implication that is new to our current world. I mean, that we don't realize this as something real. So, do you think we have access to the past and the ancestors and complete knowledge of everything? In fact, because we can extend our spiritual bodies.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. The spiritual body and also the physical body, like I said, is sacred. And when a thing is sacred, if you don't understand it, then you'll be living in superfluous of everything. So it is when you understand that you as a human are beyond the physicality.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's on that point that as an artist should be taking most of his own idea that whatever anything that happens, the sacredness of part of what we do is important. The physicality will bring, transport us into the understanding of that sacred value inherent in the work. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
everything is sacred.
Everything is sacred. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I want to ask you, how do you see your artwork in today's world of global capitalism? And how do you see it in the context of centuries of colonization? And whether you think colonization still exists and people you think are still colonized, and how do you see this in the context of Nigeria and Lagos and the people of Nigeria?
Colonialism is a thing that doesn't go. It is still there. It is only when you look at it from the aspect of occupation, when the British came and occupied our space, and we want to define that as a colonialism. It goes beyond that. Colonialism is when you are seeing yourself as another person. You live in the life of other person.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you are using the thinking of another person as your own thinking. When you use the language of another person as your own language. Because let's take it from language itself. When I want to describe something, I want to describe it in English. But English evolved out from a space that has its own philosophy. Yoruba evolved out from a space that has its own philosophy. When Yoruba want to describe the inner part of you, they say me, right? And when English want to describe it, use soul. But when you look at the definition of the two, they are two different. Me means breathe, something that breathes. The breathe, and when you say breathe, it's like hair. It's spreadable to everything, and that's what Yoruba means. That we are the breathe. I breathe now. That is my Emi. You cannot hold it. You cannot take it anywhere. You cannot engage it. You cannot enslave it. So when I describe myself as Emi, so it means I am something that goes beyond anything. So it means that when they say you die, say Emi Elo, that the Emi has gone. So gone to where? Don't say the Emi Tiku, Emi Tilo. It is the body who die. It is body die. But Emi go, Emi leave the parts. So but when you now use the English to describe you, so it is the colonialism of you. So you have colonized your own idea about your own existence, and you have colonized your own philosophy. And so which it exists now. When I want to describe my work, the English person will use their own vocabulary to describe it. For example, we have a Google in Yoruba. The English person will say masquerade. But it is not masquerading. But that is their own consciousness. That is their own space can describe what you are doing. So that is the colonialism. So it is everywhere. It is every day in our own expression of using a vocabulary to describe your own idea. You are expressing the colonial content of you.
Yeah.
So it is there. So it is very, very, very cheap. And until when you begin to decolonize your body in your expression and say, like for example, when I came to perform in India, so ordinarily I would have come with all the idea that I have, but I say no. Let me use the content as it is built in the space of India, and borrow, and collaborate with it. So I didn't come as a colonial master. I came as a me that breathed. So as a me that I came, I breathed into the space and I used myself and create new energy. And the energy, the audience in India were part of the building of that vocabulary. So they have the freedom to use word in describing what we are doing and what we done over there. So in every moment of which we do, we are constantly in a struggle of colonialism and capitalism. Now, in a capitalism, when they see everything you do in the value of property, they are not seeing what you're doing in the value of being human. And so they want to approach you in what are the values of you, which we are going to extract from you. And that was what bringing the idea of colonialism. They come with their own religion and said, your own religion is bad. Because they know by the time you condemn your religion, you accept their religion, then they'll be able to collect 10% of your property and add into their property and take it to their country. You understand? So they
Yeah.
take out your own vocabulary of description, so that by the time they describe things for you, you will constantly be meeting them. So they will say they have a philosopher, they have a PhD, they have a professor who will be defining the vocabulary for you, that this is the meaning of what you are. So, but if you use your own indigenous language, they will come and pay you. But I don't want that. So it is colonialism. So
Totally.
my work and make sure that I decolonize myself in the world, and use embodied what I am as a me, which is as the person I am.
Their ways of defining the human are very different. Every part of the vocabulary is colonized, every part of it.
Yeah,
Gender,
yeah,
human, breath, plant, nature, animal,
yeah,
objects. Everything is defined in a totally different way. And we think from this other person and we don't even know it.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. And like something I just coming to my mind when you are speaking now is the naming of a thing. In the Yoruba name uh, thing according to the energy they perceive in that thing. They just don't. So when they give a name to a thing, and they know that they are invoking out the energy of that thing for their own collaboration for existence. And that is the idea of mantra, the word mantra. I mean, it's, you. So that's the way the idea of the mantra means. You calling the name of a thing to come out and collaborate with, So that is it. So it's like a pass. It's like a password. So most of these, so they understand the password into the energy of that thing, and so they use the name to describe that thing that which they understand it as a way of penetrating into it. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And your artwork is like passcode too, the performance you do.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's exactly what I'm bringing it up. So when you look at each of the action of my work, each of the costumes of my work, and whatever anything I do there is coded in a lot of meanings. And so these meanings, it is left for my own audience to begin to infer meanings according to their own vocabulary. So they will be able to get meanings to what they are deducing from that and get meanings in their own consciousness.
So I also asked you about Nigeria and what you think about the people. And there was a recent interview I was watching of you talking about the film Gangs of Lagos. What do you think about the
Yes.
mainstream and such? I mean, just such things that the mainstream does.
Yeah. You see, the mainstream of the thing is like a propagation of colonialism, and movie has a special way of deepening the colonization.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a very special way in deepening it. Like the film, the Gang of Lagos, that when you watch the film, in the opening, the Eyo, which is an indigenous Orisha of the indigenous people of Lagos, believe that in the time of death, when you are retiring into the inner part of you.
mm,
They know that there must be a sacred ceremony which to align that body into inner world, which they call Iwale Asha. So in that, they become a sacred thing and become a sacred ceremony.
mm,
And so, but in doing it, it is not for every Dick and Harry. They use it for people who are leaders. Because when you say leader are those who carry the responsibility, the collective responsibility and the collective energy of the people, and lead them in understanding who they are. So it means that that person carry enormous element of Asher, which is the power of manifestation. So I said they will conduct um, kind of a spiritual ceremony, which is the rites for the Orisha, and align them into the inner, which they're going to live. And
mm,
so when someone who is an artist want to write and use that sacred uh, body and begin to use it in a murderous manner that kill and take life out in a criminal way. So and that is the perspective of the white people into
mm,
the religion when they were trying to colonize. And so, and that's you will see that when I say it is a continuation or propagation of colonialism. So using that in derogatory way, and which is out of context, and that is what colonialism means. So it means that that film will colonize the few and more about the essences, the values of that sacred Orisha, which is called Eyo or Eyo Adamu Orisha. So that is what colonialism. So you could imagine that someone, if
uh, Jelili.
yep.
Yeah, cracking. I think it's back
Oh,
now. It's back now.
okay. So it shows to me. Some of us will say it is actually deliberate, because some people say it is ignorant. I will say no, it is deliberate, because when you look at the opening of the film, the movie, it's quite stated there that Eyo is a sacred ceremony that is used for the dead.
Mm,
So then why did they use it? And when you see the opening also, it's as the AI image of Eyo, and in using gum rather than having the sacred opal, and they replace it with the gum. So and you could imagine someone like a kid looking at that image would manifest a kind of image in the mind of the person. So, and that's like the process I was telling you about my work, and that process of art itself. In the process of assimilation, the forms that the audience will assimilate into the memory body that go into the deposit body of the ancestors. It's with that image of gone welding body. So,
mm,
and they will say no. And when you look at the film critically and study it, you will know that it has a political motivation. And talking about political leader of Lagos State. And then they say that the person has been around for 20 years, according to the statement they made in the film.
mm,
So it is political. And that is what colonialism does. Colonialism understand they have a target. And the target is to, is to diminishing the essence of the target and take over the image of that, the essences of that. And that what is it? They want to take over the image of Lagos State. And so they don't care. And one of the image of Lagos State is the sacred body, which is ancestral, that is coded in the image of Eyo. Look at the whites. And the whites Renos is the white of the body of Eyo. The white means things are pure, be purity. So, and it means that at the time of dying, you must be pure. You must have left out all impurity in your body, as which this physicality have acquired for a longer time. So when you are in the process of going into the inner, your body is pure. And that's why they have that purity of the white. And it symbolizes the energy of Obatala, which is the energy of creativity. So the energy of creativity, and you're not saying, is the energy that is destroying and killing people. It is a colonial trait. It is the trait we bring up. Because the colonialism come with Bible, religion. And the Bible they came, they said it's salvation. So, and in salvation, they go through crusades and kill a lot of people and destroy. Yoruba don't do that. Yoruba don't colonize people. Yoruba enhances energy. And in the way Yoruba enhances energy, and Yoruba will tell you your energy must be able to bat into a new energy. And that is what the whiteness of the body of a Eyo symbolize, is the energy of Obatala. And the energy of Obatala is the energy of creativity that bring the power of Ashe into manifest this physicality. So you understand so it is a calculated attempt, and they understand that in talking about Lagos, well, that's slow enough. In talking about Lagos, you must be able to destroy the sacred energy which they that because it is that sacred energy that brings prosperity into Lagos, that bring everybody. Lagos in Nigeria, Lagos is most prosperous city that whatever anybody come all over Nigeria, you must prosper when you come there. And it is part of the element of the Eyo. Because they do sacred and well I said offering to the Orisha every moment in their own sacred spaces. So when you destroy so it is an extension of colonialism, an extension of colonial destructions that are for the indigenous people. That targeted at indigenous people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, were there any figures while growing up whom you looked up to, perhaps artists or musicians or anyone you looked up to as an artist?
Sorry. When I was growing up, I have a lot of image around me that I looked up to, especially that has to, with my grandmother, because my I didn't live with my parents. I lived with my with my grandparents. So my grandmother means is the iconic person that I look up to, because it's I stay in a room. So I growing up looking at her. She's so mild, soft spoken, So it was later on I began to understand more that the feminine figure, it played more about the feminine part of my life. My grandmother. And then my grandfather, who was a leader, you know, make me to understand, give me also the role of seeing things more like the masculine thing. So these are the two, domestic role for me, which I look into as being somebody that look in within myself for more. Because I grew up in a village, Ejibo, that has become a cosmopolitan small city now, was a small village where everybody we know ourselves. So I wasn't exposed more to the outsider. But when I was now growing, well, because there was a time when television coming to the village, and so when I begin to now see people, uh, looking at figure in a small bus, then I begin to look in the Indian film like Dharmendra, Amitabh Bachchan, Bruce Lee, right? But within my body, there's my grandfather, my grandmother, and the orishas. Of course, I went also into the process of colonialism, where I went to the Quranic schools and all things like that. When we see Muhammad as a symbol of the religion of these colonial masters, the way they protect the religions for. So I have Muhammad in a way, which is the religious body of Islam, as also. But at the point where I begin to have that struggles of the colonial myself, then I now see this larger body of the orishas. Because the Yoruba orishas are figures of human within us that grow. They are not external body. They are not. They are not one strange body that come from the myths and come. All our orishas have, in a way, come that embody the human body. So they are all of us. So it was Yoruba people, and Yoruba religion does not manufacture this big figure of astral image they come. Of course, we also will know. So all our own iconic body at a point embodies human. And for be able to understand that you that are having this flesh first must have a contact of physicality and connected to the inner, which is spirituality. So those are iconic figures around me that model my work, and also and also model who I am at the moment. So, and like people will say, the larger body, that my grandmother represents the energy of who we call the Aje, and the Aje are the powers of manifestation, or they call the Awon Iya, because you have your mother, right? So it's that figure of that body of, there is a time that I was living that I was sustained by the energy of my mother. So my grandmother represents that energy at that time that I look up to. And each of the most time now, I still recollect that gentle, the first person that she's a woman that I can get annoyed and show it to her. And she won't get offended. I mean, my grandmother. And each time and each time I come back from school, I feel so sad. She was the one that will know and feel it deeper that my grandchild somehow is disturbed, and will call me and say, Jelili, what, Mabo? Kilo share, very soft spoken. And sometimes when I feel disturbed, you could see the aura in her eye that felt. So she connects to me.
Yeah.
And so she is a symbol of my person. And so she's a person that is a big figure that molded who I am. We call her, she's a Taiwo. She was a twins. She's Taiwo, that's her name. But in the old village, they call her Iya Eleron Didi. She sells fried meat to the people. So they call her Iya Eleron Didi. Yeah.
That's very interesting,
Are
Jalili,
you there?
because similarly, I have my grandmother, who's a big role model for me, and she's very soft spoken, and I can see what you mean when you say that she has horror in her eyes when she sees me disturbed, and she can look through me, and she represents that power, that big energy of creativity, of compassion as well.
Yeah. That is what women do. You
Yeah.
know, but when they silently, unknowing to all of us, they pass that sacred energies to us, and you carry it along, you know. And when you grow up, you don't understand it, and you take it once take it for granted, you know, that you are part of the whole energy of the feminine body.
Yeah.
So to me, that is the sacred icon for me, you know.
Ask you a last question if you still have some time.
Okay.
Um, so, what do you think about the art space? And if you have any thoughts about this, what other artists are doing, and just the general artist space, and whether you have some things which you don't like about the space, or you'd want more to see this other kind of art. So, do you have any opinions about the art space in the circle?
Well, in talking about art space, I will talk about the political space inherent in the art space. Just like we're talking about
Sorry,
when
can you say
idea
that
is
again?
created for a purpose.
The,
In talking about the art space, I will talk about the political views that go in within it, and that is the political of the art space. Art space is established for a purpose, and so I wouldn't struggle or I wouldn't contest the idea which it was established for. So, but I would advocate for space that have more freedom, and that space that give you freedoms and which will embody the energy of humanity, and energy that will make every aspect of art flourish, and that will not be an extension of colonialism, because there is a lot of space, an aspect that it has an extension of colonialism, an extension of racism, extension of nepotism, extension of all things that has to do with the values of capitalism. So, but of course, like I said, at the political of it. So, whatever any space they have anything, they should put that in the mind, because it's a big issue to talk on its own. Yeah.
yeah, capitalism has also done this to us that um, I mean, we spoke about it briefly, but we couldn't go into it very deeply. We spoke about colonialism in length, but with capitalism, a new orientation of the human is developed, which is that the human looks at other people just through a sense of value, a sense of use, just
Yeah.
uh, and everything becomes quantifiable. Everything is a quantity, and I wonder if you're seen that way sometimes in the art space, and because they perhaps they don't respect your values and your sincerity in the same way that you're sincere about your ideas. I mean,
Yeah. Yes, you are right, and that is why I said in the earlier on. I said we talk about the political of the political energy of the space, because, like I said, a lot of them is created for a purpose, and most of those purposes must be fulfilled according to them. You know, and what I'm saying that we should, when we create those space, have that humanistic tendency for us to let it come into the fore and let it dictate the way we approach a lot of things. And when we do that, we should be, be projecting, and be pushing our civilization more into the humanitarian aspect of us, that devoid of capitalism, of capitalistic tendency, of the politics of capitalism. you know. So I want to be spirit that free. I want to be spirit that create things that transport energies into and activate the energy of the people that in the positive way, and make me also be happy that I'm living as a human being. I am not saying I want to be an isolation of people where I just want to do my things without part. I am part of the space of human. And so when my art is being invited to be part of that space, you must give me the freedom
yeah, yeah,
to be an expressive element. So so let me thank you so much for this dialogue. It's fantastic,
it was fantastic,
it's really
Jalili.
fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So thank you. I hope I meet anytime I come to Indian or anytime you come to Nigeria or we meet anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
cyberspace. So let us